hero on Instagram. I'm not trying to upstage you. I'll use my regular voice.
Oh, you're cutting out.
Can you hear me now? And now can you hear me?
Yes, I
can hear me now.
Yep, yes I can.
Okay.
So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another interview on the Degenerate Session. My guest today, and it is a pleasure to bring on Nic Paterson from Main Event Wrestling, one of my idols. Been following him for the past few years. I am so excited to have this conversation and have this interview. How are you today, Nic?
Well, first of all, what a pleasure it is to be on this particular program. You remind me of a young Nic Paterson. Balls to the wall. You go out and you get the interviews that you need to get, and you're doing a lot. You've done a lot in a short period of time. So keep up the good work. Big fan of the show.
Thank you so much. It means a lot coming from you.
No problem.
Started a few months ago, looking to expand. Always wanted a career. So to sit with a guy like you and pick your brain is a pleasure, and it is such an advantage for me at this time. So let's jump right into it. A lot going on in the world today. Craziness. I'm not going to put you on the spot or anything. Give me your opinions on certain topics. We'll start off with COVID-19. How's it affecting the business? Anything you can talk to us about, especially down there in Montreal with Main Event Wrestling and yourself?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to keep it very simple on this subject. If you're putting performers, staff, families, or friends of staff in danger by performing shows in hot zones in the United States, that's wrong. And that's something that I feel strongly against. There's a lot of wrestling that has returned to the scene, especially in the last week. We've seen some outdoor shows on the independent level, but more so the major leagues of wrestling. Look, the people that made the decision to stay home, the Kevin Owens of the world, the Roman Reigns, and there's a few other ones that had a little bit of an idea before that this was going to be a serious situation. They had foresight, and they were right. The bottom line is you just don't want to put anybody at risk for no reason. So for me, I don't have all the answers, but I definitely like to see people putting a little bit more thought into the health and well-being of everybody involved.
I completely agree. It's more for the risk of other people. If people don't want to protect themselves, that's fine. But for children, elderly, like you said, performers, staff, other fans, we need to control it and control it as best we can. Everybody's got to do their part. There's a lot going on also in the next topic. Speaking out, a lot of people are coming out, especially in the British wrestling scene. How do you feel on that topic and how crazy is it in the world? Again, I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, put me on the spot. I like it. I like the intensity. It's good.
All right. So speaking out, tell me how you feel. I'm going to put you right on the spot.
Hey, for a long time, people were silent about things that were going on in the professional wrestling business, and now a lot of idiots are being exposed, basically. So don't be a dick, don't be a bad person, don't be a creepy person. And now, if you are, basically, you're going to get called out and you're going to lose your job. So that's as simple as it can get. It's a long time coming, and for the individuals that have had issues, who have left the business, imagine being in the business for a long period of time. Something like that happened to you and you had to leave because of it. Going forward, that's not going to happen anymore. People have the platform now to discuss these issues, be honest about them, and not allow this to happen anymore. So, and treating a performer as a promoter or as someone who works within the wrestling industry, the greatest gift is really how to treat your people when you hire them. That's the most important thing. That's why the Mance Warners of the world, the Madman Fultons, the Fala Baz of the world, stars like to work for MEW because they know they're going to be treated accordingly. Female wrestlers like Casey Spinelli, Crystal Moon, they can speak for themselves. I wouldn't want to put any words in their mouth, but I'm very confident that I can say that those two had a spectacular time in January when they were here in Montreal for MEW.
That is awesome, and that's the way everyone should be treated, is equally. From the cameraman to the highest star. There's no point in making somebody feel uncomfortable, putting them on the spot, harassing them, and all that. And I completely agree with you. You got to make it a comfortable situation, especially for the performers. We'll get around, especially in wrestling. Like you said, a lot's coming out now, and we're finding out who the dicks are.
There you go. That's one way of putting it.
Yep.
It may not be over yet. So watch yourself, people.
Trump and the States. The States is a disaster right now. That's my personal opinion. with the protests, COVID-19, obviously the thing with stuff with George Floyd is terrible. Black Lives Matter, 150,000%. How do you feel on that topic? If you can talk about it, let us know.
No, I'll talk about it. Systematic racism, police brutality. If you have an issue with it, if you're not too sure, maybe you're thinking, oh, well, it's not that bad. It is that bad. Yeah. It's a huge problem, and it has to be taken care of. It has to be completely revamped within the United States, or else more people are going to die. That's basically what it comes down to. Again, more people dying because of racism. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's just something that needs to change. And if you have any other opinion about it, you might say, oh, I'm not racist, but you are a racist. So, just stop and let's get it done. But the thing is that we're not going to get it done with the current president of the United States. There is an election in November. Personally, I'm not a fan of either Joe Biden or Donald Trump. But in a situation like this, there's really no choice. If you want to get rid of a dictatorship, if you want to get rid of tyranny, you have to take the next best option in order to move forward, going on for the next 4 to 48 years. So if I had a vote in the United States election, I would vote for Joe Biden on the basis of trying to get Trump out of power. That would be my personal opinion on the matter, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get away from all that. Let's dive into some wrestling. So I definitely brought you here, pick your brain. So where did it start? How did it all start? Main Event Wrestling, and explain from there.
Main Event Wrestling has been a process over the last 3 years, really trying to put together the best professional wrestling organization in not only in our province but in Canada, and it's a long-term deal, right? So we came back with a bang in January, and we had signed a 6-show consecutive deal with a beautiful venue in Montreal called WRESTUNG. And we were really on pace to do 6 consecutive shows. And most importantly, the people that we hire on the shows were hired for consecutive shows. So, awesome. We know sometimes as we follow the independent wrestling scene that oftentimes you'll see a card advertised with a big star, and he'll come in for one shot, and then he'll win and he'll leave, and then nothing will ever come of it. At Main Event Wrestling, what we try to do is that once you see a Mance Warner or a Madman Fulton or a Zicky Dice or a Falaba, it's not a one-time thing. They're included in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th show and going forward. They're part of the roster. So for us at Main Event Wrestling, it's really about changing the game as far as it relates to the mentality of booking a show with a supposed big star. He leaves, shakes hands with the guy in the ring, or they put their hand up together and they hug, and there's absolutely no heat, and it makes absolutely no sense. Yeah. We want to have a roster in Montreal for Main Event Wrestling. It's not a local independent promotion. It's an independent wrestling promotion that has the best of Montreal, the best of Ontario, and the best of anybody in the United States. Obviously, with COVID, that's causing an issue for Main Event Wrestling because a big part of our roster are guys that do come from the States. So we're trying to think on our feet right now. And just to end on this, there are no shows in the near future. There are no shows. The Quebec government has been opening up business, although limiting live events to 50 people and less, and for combat sports or for wrestling, zero fans.
So have they given you any word when it's going to be opening? Nothing, right?
No, we are in contact with the correct people who are making those decisions, and we will be the first to know. But right now, all we can do is work on our pre-production. We can work on creating content. But as far as going forward with shows, it's not happening in this province because you could do a show in front of 0 people, but who wants to do a show in front of no fans? That's another subject. Maybe you're going to bring it up later, but that's my big issue with wrestling right now. I can't watch it. There's no fans. If you don't have fans in the crowd, how are you supposed to elicit reaction? How are you supposed to know who's over and who's not? It just, to me, it's completely nonsensical.
It's crazy too because I get why they're doing it for entertainment, but they were doing it right through COVID, and that's and with you're right, it's terrible without fans. The personal opinion for whoever's watching, it's terrible without fans. And I like the reaction, and they did a couple matches where they would have got huge reactions. I'm not going to call them back, but they could have had such a good response, and I hope they don't ruin people's returns and stuff. But that's up to them, like we said. So I'm looking forward to see what goes on in the near future when the fans come back. But you were talking about rosters, so tell me, build your roster. How would you go about it? What do you look for in wrestlers? Anything you can tell us in detail. So how would you build it?
Sure. Well, we have built it at MEW, and unfortunately, we did get stopped. And we had our second show scheduled for the month of March, and it was stopped. So, just for instance, in our first show, we had a triple threat ladder match for the number one contendership for the MEW title. Mance Warner won that match. And our second show, we were having a fatal four-way for the second number one contendership match with Madman Fulton Falaba, Latino superstar El Chato, and local star Kevin Gray. So right there you have two consecutive shows where you're putting together two number one contenders for the title. And of course, at the third show, it would have been Mance Warner facing off with whomever won the fatal four-way on the second show. So right there's a little bit of an investment in what you're watching on the independent level. I mean, I watched some other independents, and it just looks like a spot show.
Yeah.
And to me, that's very boring. It's so passé.
Yeah.
If you don't have an end game, don't do it.
No.
Let somebody else do it. They can do it better, basically.
They're taking somebody's spot, right?
It's boring. It's so passé. Just like, who wants to go see an independent show and not know what they're going to see?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know who's going to be on the show, why they're fighting, and what are the possible outcomes. And of course, we want great competition, and that's why we bring in the best people from the United States, Ontario, and a limited amount of people from Montreal.
Okay. So, any spoilers you got for us? Any projects that you are working for pre-promotion? Like you said, I know you guys aren't opening, but anything you can tell us that is going on, and like that spoil. I don't want you to spoil anything, but anything you can tell us.
Okay. No, you can totally ask. Actually, my partner and I have been working on something that's a huge headache for the last month. But when it comes out, it's going to be quite rewarding. It's a big undertaking, but it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be fan interactive. I'm not going to give you a spoiler, but I will say that within the next few weeks, if you follow MEWWrestling.com, or if you follow our Instagram page, which we're on right now, or Facebook at Main Event Wrestling, you're going to see something very innovative coming out in the next couple of weeks, and it will involve current MEW wrestlers, but it's also going to involve a lot of people who have yet to wrestle for Main Event Wrestling. And I know that even if you're a casual fan, you will know who these people are who are involved with this project. So it's been a headache, but sometimes the projects that give you the most headaches are the most rewarding. And I can guarantee everybody watching here that in the next few weeks, you're gonna enjoy watching it, and you're gonna be pleasantly surprised with who is involved in this particular project. And it's an online project. It's not live. It's all going to be done interactively through social media. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that. So to explain to us, what goes into like the promotion, building the show? What goes into building the show? I've always been curious. I like asking different promoters, VP, this question, because they always have different answers. They're similar, but there's always those little details that are different. So can you explain things in detail what goes into a show, especially pre-promotion, pre-promoting, and the day of the show?
Well, I think the venue is something that's really important that gets lost a lot of the time, in especially in independent wrestling. A lot of people like to open up a gym or a parking garage or an enclosed area that really shouldn't be a place where you're producing professional wrestling. For me, if you're going to produce professional wrestling, do it in a proper venue. I think that's really important, and that's why Lestral is a really important partner for us, and that's why we use that space, because it's a world-renowned space. When the Just for Laughs comes to town, or the Jazz Fest comes to town, that's where these acts go to play. They play at Lestral. So you have to have a great location, and you have to have a great venue. It has to be accessible to everyone, and you want to maximize the amount of people that are able to come to the show. Yeah. Then from there, that's one part of it. Then from there, if you want to build the show, again, it has to make sense. What you're watching has to make sense. Yeah. Who we contact, who we want to have on our shows, is not something that just happens overnight. we work daily on main event wrestling. Main event wrestling isn't a hobby. It's not something that we just say, oh, we're gonna put on a show on July 24th and let's hope for the best. It's literally something that we work at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's always on the table. And as you can tell, even right now in today's wrestling, there's always surprises, right? There's always injuries. For instance, on our second show in January, the main event, the original main event that was booked was Mance Warner against Rich Swann in a one-on-one ladder match. Rich Swann got injured. Our second choice was his partner, Willie Mack. And so he said, oh, well, if we can't get Rich, at least we'll get Mack. And then Mack was booked in Las Vegas for a autograph session, and he wasn't available, but they didn't know. We had 2 injuries on that show. We had 2 other matches where people got injured, local stars. So you have to be able to have a long-term plan, but be able to make the proper decisions in a concise and quick manner when surprises do come up, and they do come up. And that's a big stress of the business. Personally, I like it. I think it's fun. It's just like, oh, here we go. We've got to start over again. But you always have to have an end game. You always have to have an end goal. Don't start a storyline. Don't start a promotion if you don't know where you're going with it. And that's the big issue right now in independent wrestling. People starting things that they just have no idea how to end. Yeah. So, and there's just so much that goes into it. Packing a house. How do you sell out a house? Well, now we can't, but that's important too. We're lucky to have great sponsors on our show. Who you partner up with, who wants to help you promote the show. For us, La Cage is one of the premier sports bars in the province of Quebec, and they're our principal sponsor. We have Andy's Barbershop, which is a great barbershop for a male demographic. There's so many great sponsors that you can try to affiliate with the brand that makes sense for the brand and for MEW at the same time.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Right, you want to get the right sponsorship, like you were saying. It helps. Yeah. It helps build the brand, right? And especially a venue, like you were saying, you need a venue. And I've never really been a fan of outdoor, like maybe not outdoor events, but like parking garages and stuff. I worked an outdoor event. I'll give you a little spiel. I did an Natalia Fest where I live anyways, and it was hot. I felt bad for the wrestlers. It was like plus 40, and we had to build the ring, then they had to wrestle. It was like a 12-hour day, and I know they got to pay their dues at us too, but I felt like it was a little bit of torture, I guess you could say, to the wrestlers. Like, I'd rather be inside, and they can perform better inside in a healthy environment, right? And that's just my opinion. But yeah, I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, sometimes you have to ask yourself as a promoter, why are you doing the show?
Yeah.
Are you just doing it to do it out? What? Even for us, I don't think we would really consider doing an outdoor event because we're trying to build ourselves at L'Estral. To move your fan base away to somewhere else that is not proven is you might take a loss. And at the same time, why are you doing it? Yeah. We don't do spot shows. We don't do one-offs. We don't do festivals. We're main event wrestling. We follow storylines and we follow consecutive shows. We're not in the business of, if someone offered us something to do something for a quick buck, we have no interest in doing that. We want to do our shows on our terms in order to give the best possible show to the fans so they understand what's going on and they'll come back. If that makes sense, I think that's, it's important.
100%, and to grow an audience, right? Especially not just locally, but like you were saying, in Canada, the United States, bringing in wrestlers from both countries really helps build that brand. And I love how you're doing it. I'm a big fan of Zicky Dice. I have been for years. He was actually my first interview. He was fantastic. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to come down when you do have a show opening up. So I can't wait. I was supposed to come this weekend. Actually, and I was going to ask you to do this live, but we know COVID's still around and the country's still closed, so we can't.
Yeah, might as well keep it like that until things calm down. It's just better for everyone.
Oh, 100%. And quick little spiel: I'm in the retail world as my job right now as a store manager, and you wouldn't believe how many times I get to the front with customers and they're just being rude and they're not wearing masks, and it's just a crazy world out there, and it drives me nuts, right? But back to wrestling. 100%.
Yeah. Well, just saying, I feel you on that because that comes down to to ownership in the way that they deal with the customers that are coming in. Now, it's not the customer's fault if they're not wearing a mask. If there's not a sign on the door that says, it's obligated to wear a mask, because
100%.
as we see everywhere, people will try to take advantage. So it's really up to business owners to take the proper steps. And of course, it's nice to have cooperation from the customers also. That's not always the case. So I feel you on that one, but good luck with that.
Yeah, definitely up with that. So you've been watching, as you said, it's hard to watch, but what's your opinion on the current product? We'll start with WWE, the main one.
Well, my opinion on the product right now is that it's actually a very interesting time, because with all of the releases that are going on right now, I'm looking at rosters and how they can fill the holes that they have, right? So if I'm Impact Wrestling right now, man, I'm seeing a lot of opportunity right now. I'm not of the mindset that you need to just sign a bunch of people like WCW did in 1994, 95, 96, 97. Yes, I'm that old.
Me too.
Okay, there you go. But in times like this, if you have proper bookers in place and you have proper ownership in place, and you can handle the influx of talent that's coming from outside, from other promotions, take advantage, have a plan. So WWE right now is on the other end of the spectrum. They're letting people go. And that's giving an opportunity for AEW and Impact to build their roster. But now really the question is, what do you do with those people? So even if we look at AEW, there's a huge influx of talent coming in, not just because of the releases, but because of who they signed beforehand. Are they doing the most? Are they maximizing the most they can with that roster right now? Only time will tell. Now is not the time to judge. I would judge it 3 to 6 months from now. There's been a bit of a grace period. Now we're going through COVID. But I really look at it like, where is the business right now? It's all about what you do with talent.
Yeah.
And the talent that's available.
I completely agree with you. And WWE, this is my personal opinion, I feel like people swallow up talent, and it's not a good thing, because you only have so much time on a show, and a lot of guys and girls don't make it onto the show. And I get it, me, one of the fans, and other fans, we get excited. Like Deonna Purrazzo was signed NXT. Who else was there? Deonna Purrazzo. I'm frozen on.
We just saw the Revival debut in AEW.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is the biggest mismanagement of talent of the last year. I mean, you can go down the list. I mean, we can talk forever, but just like put it in a nutshell, NXT to WWE has been a 90% failure rate.
Yeah.
Nakamura, and the list goes on and on. Some of them are going back, so and NXT is a properly run show. It's the best
100%.
wrestling. It's the best wrestling in the world today. There's no doubt about it. But it's what you do with the talent. So the thing is that it's good to have your opinion is correct. You're spot on by saying that if a company basically takes in a bunch of wrestlers and signs them and doesn't use them, it's not fair to them. It's not fair to the fans. But here's the thing: you have to think about what the competition, AEW, and to a lesser extent Impact Wrestling is. Are they maximizing when they have the opportunity to have talent? For me, I'm not 100% convinced yet. So unless wrestlers themselves start stepping up and doing it on their own, or companies take the responsibility of signing wrestlers from WWE a little bit more seriously and figure out what to do with them that's going to make fans watch, then I have nothing against Vince McMahon gulping up all the talent or whoever is making the decisions on hiring. Unless the two other promotions start proving that they can handle the influx of talent, then Vince has every right in the world to sign whoever he wants to sign for how many years he wants to.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with you there. It's a shaded area, because even with AEW, I'm a fan. Don't get me wrong. I love AEW. I love the wrestlers. I love wrestling. I'm a huge wrestling fan.
Sure.
We'll talk about that for hours. But I feel there's too much tag team wrestling. No one hate me on AEW. Every match is a tag team match.
Yeah.
I don't think Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and I don't know if it's my place or not, should be a tag team. You have two of the best individual wrestlers, and I know the building to that feud. But there's so many other tag teams and younger talent that could have got a chance at tag team titles. And now it's just every show is tag team on Dynamite. And
Well,
so
if you think about it, why do you think that there are so many tag team matches?
Because WWE doesn't have enough.
Well, it's that's one aspect. If you want to look at the competition aspect, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but what my professional opinion is very simple. AEW is based on factions.
Yeah.
The booking is all factions.
Yeah.
The main storylines is all factions. The only
100%.
person that doesn't have a faction is Dean Ambrose and whoever. And Dean Ambrose is always going up against a different faction. So in order to fill the time on the television program on TNT and give the spotlight to the people that they want to, they have to put them in tag team matches to push the faction stuff. If you had less factions, then you could have more one-on-one individual competition, which in the end is what is really going to sell down the line.
Yes.
Now, tag team wrestling, when it's oversaturated, I can completely agree. Because why? It takes away from the best parts of the show. When NXT TakeOver was successful, they would have one tag team match on the show, right? And that would be, the match of the night. And they wouldn't have. It's rare that they would have two. Sometimes, and remember, NXT only 5 or 6 matches per pay-per-view, not 10 or 12, right?
Yeah.
Huge importance. And even for us at Main Event Wrestling, we do that, 5 matches. I hate going to see an independent wrestling show with 12 matches on it.
Yeah.
You know what my other big pet peeve is, if I may? I feel like I can get this off my chest with you.
Get it off.
You're a good listener. Is when the promotion of the independent wrestling event comes out and they announce all the individual matches, 1 to 12, and then all of a sudden, like the week or two before, you see one big advertisement with each match, but it's the flyer with the logo, GCW, and it's showing all of the matches on the card, but in one advertisement.
Yeah.
Like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, you wouldn't see, match 1 to 12, but with the same logo. They're using the same flyer.
Yeah, the same font and logo. Okay.
Just the little things. It's the little things.
Yeah, just little details, right? And that's what you do different.
Well, we try to. I mean, it's taken me 20 years to figure it out, but I think at this point we've gone leaps and bounds from where I was, 20 years ago.
Well, it comes with experience, right? 100%. Sometimes it takes long, right?
Yeah.
It took me 20 years to pursue my dream, and here I am now. I completely agree with you. It has to be storyline, and NXT does a fantastic job with that, especially with tag teams and the individuals. I can't even say one because it's not. They do such a well job with that it attracts a lot of people, and that is what I do want to see in AEW. I'll be honest with you. I get it where you need to fill the card, and you don't want to bury people, and you need to put the factions in. They have too many factions. It's an opinion, but it's a strong one for me. They have too many factions, and the problem is I like most of the factions, but there's too many, and it goes weird. It's weird when they every show someone else is tacking to someone else, and it's just a constant storyline like they have right now with Moxley and Brian Cage. That one's a good storyline. That's how I feel wrestling should be. Just I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to have factions, and there have been periods of times in the business, whether it be in the NWA or WWE or WCW, where factions have played a huge part in professional wrestling. But the thing is that they have to be good, and they can't take away from the main event either. Yeah. So it's walking a fine line, basically. Yeah. I think that there's a success in AEW at the main event level with factions. and I think their mid card with factions needs a lot of help. And it's not necessarily the booking; it's the execution from the performers. Sometimes it's the little things. The Dark Order for me, that whole thing has such potential to it. But I feel it's really the most stale thing in wrestling today. I'm lost. I'm completely lost with that storyline. I don't know. It's not because I'm excited to know where it's going. To me, it doesn't make any sense. And now, who am I to say? Because I'm not in the room, right? But that's my opinion as someone who is watching it. Now, I expected when Jake Roberts was debuting that he would be put with, not with the Dark Order, but with Luke Harper. I thought he was going to be, his name in AEW is
Brody Lee.
Yeah, Brody Lee. There you go. Yeah. Who I worked with 18 years ago, and I can't even remember his damn name. So Luke Harper and Jake Roberts to me was a perfect fit. And then maybe with the Dark Order, it could have been somebody else. But in any case, I think that there's still potential for it, but I feel like it's taking away from other wrestlers or other programs that you could put in that mid-card position because it's super important as the lead up to the main.
Okay.
And that's my opinion on AEW, brother.
Okay, so a couple fun questions before I do let you go. Name me your all-time favorite wrestler. Could be more than one. I won't put you on the spot, just one. You can name a female and a male, or a couple of each. Name us some of your favorites.
Sure. Well, I think growing up, Randy Savage, Jake Roberts, and Ric Flair shaped who I was as a performer because, yes, I used to wrestle. Thank God I don't do that anymore. So I did have a few spots. And then after that, managing and whatnot. So as far as like a character who I was drawn to growing up, well, Rick, Randy, and Jake were the end-all and the be-all for me. And then in today's world, if I look at what's going on in the independent circuit, the two guys that I like to watch the most is Mance Warner. I think that because he's a multi-dimensional gimmick, right? So he's a gimmick, but he can do anything from there. He's not just a guy with one name. He's got a gimmick. So there's a lot that you can do with that. That's what I'm looking for in when I'm watching television and watching wrestling is someone multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
Not just you're this guy and then you're stuck there. And then if you have to switch a storyline or make a character switch, you got to do something completely different. You got to set yourself up to make any transition be very easy for yourself. I think.
Well, that's what you were telling me.
And the other guy who I really like watching, who has been less of a focus in the last year, he's been wrestling more in Canada, and he was supposed to debut with us in March. Is Stone Rockwell, the adventurer Stone Rockwell from Toronto. Fantastic. If you want to follow him on Instagram, if you want to see somebody who knows how to reach out to an audience base, have a gimmick, work it. He's so funny. He's so entertaining, and he can work. He's on Instagram. Stone Rockwell is very good. I encourage everybody to follow Mance Warner as well.
Awesome.
And Madman Fulton. These are guys that understand what their characters are, what their gimmicks are, and how to push them. And hopefully they'll have the opportunity not only with Main Event Wrestling, but with AEW or Impact Wrestling in the future too.
100%. I'm definitely going to reach out to Mance.
And female, it's Wendy Richter all the way. She was the women's champion, and she fought at WrestleMania 1 against the Fabulous Moolah. No, it's not. Wendy Richter.
I like how you went at the pure shoot there, eh? You sucked me in, though. You definitely sucked
me in. The Cyndi Lauper storyline of WrestleMania 1 was the best.
It was a good storyline. How do you feel about WCW? How about the WCW things? What's your opinion on that?
WCW?
Yeah. I'm a big WCW fan.
It was a great time. You're at ECW or WCW?
WCW. I love
WCW. Yeah, it was a great time for the business. The booking was horrendous, but the talent that they had was fantastic.
Yeah.
I was a WWF guy, like 100%. Yeah. Like when Brett left to WCW, I even as a 17-year-old, I was able to read enough on the internet and on AOL.com during that time. About what was going on. I understood why he was leaving, but it was like, it pulled at your heartstrings because you were invested in WWF and all those years. So to see a guy like Brett go to WCW, and then of course we know what happened to Brett when he went to WCW. That absolutely knew how to use them. So we all know the history of WCW, why certain things went wrong, and eventually why it crumbled. But it was a good time for the business. It was a really fun time for the business. You never knew who was going to show up on Monday nights. The pay-per-views sometimes didn't make any sense whatsoever, but if you had a couple of beers with your friends, it was cool. But I was always a WWE guy. I would always go back to WWE pay-per-views. You know, we're a couple of days removed from the 22nd anniversary of Hell in a Cell, Mick Foley, and The Undertaker. Yeah. I mean, I can remember watching that live at a sports bar in Montreal, and basically that night knowing that that's what I wanted to do, that I wanted to be in the business. Like, I had known before that as a younger kid, but really when I saw that, it was like crystal clear. I was completely brainwashed.
Yeah, 100%. Those were the times, right?
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. It was my birthday when Scott Hall appeared on WCW, and I was watching WCW, and I said to my mom, I'm like, what's going on? There's Ramon, and it was like a crazy time. Do you remember when the Giant came out from under the ring?
Sure.
In the cage match? Like, what a time to be alive, man.
St. Valentine's Day Massacre, incidentally. I watched that pay-per-view with Abdul the Butcher live in Montreal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was amazing. That's crazy.
So he was at the same sports bar, and we were talking wrestling, and he invited us over to the table. We were buying the pictures, so that might have been one of the reasons why he didn't invite us over, but it was kind of a cool thing at that age. I think it was I was maybe 19 to sit there with Abdullah and pick his brain and see that. And then immediately after it was over, popped out, left, and that was it. So, but yeah, it was a great time for the business. WCW, perfect time for the business.
100%. So before I let you go, any plans for the upcoming weekend? Anything you got going on?
Yeah, well, we're really working on this project, and we're gonna. You'll be the first to know. You'll be the first to know. We're making a lot of contacts right now with people who we never would have thought would have been involved with MEW. But because of the current situation, it allows us the opportunity to reach out to certain individuals, and I think people will be pleasantly surprised. And rest assured, we all want wrestling to come back. We're dying to do it, but we don't want to actually die because of it. So everybody's got to stay safe, be patient, wait till it's absolutely, positively, 100% safe to do it, and trust us. If and when MEW comes back, we will have the best measures in place possible, better than any other company, in order to make sure that the fans and the performers and everybody working in the building are 100% safe. That's a guarantee.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much, Nick, for joining us today on the Degenerate. It's a pleasure, man. I'm a big fan of you, big fan of Main Event Wrestling. I definitely want to come out. And once again, I want to thank you again. Guys, follow Nic Paterson on Instagram, Main Event Wrestling on Instagram. Check them out, maineventwrestling.com. This is my future boss I'm hoping for. I'm going to call him out right now. And yes, Nick, I hope you stay safe. I will let you say bye to everyone, and I will let you go.
All right, brother. Now, dreams do come true, but don't get your dreams up too high, because you're reaching to the top. The main event.
I have to.
Looking forward to meeting you in person when the time is right, and keep up the great work on the show. I really enjoy it. The list of guests that you have had on the show is impressive. Keep it up. I'll be watching, and hope everybody else does too. Stay safe, everybody, and follow Main Event Wrestling.
100%. Guys, follow Main Event Wrestling. Nic Paterson, once again, we're out. Signing off. Have a great night.
Dom twos.